Eisenhower appointed John Foster Dulles to take charge of foreign policy. To him, anti-communism and American big business were two sides of the same coin.
One night at the Iranian embassy, the then Ambassador Saleh and myself talked to John Foster Dulles. And John Foster Dulles made it very clear that Iran will not be allowed to get away with the nationalization. And his argument was that if we let you get away, then what's going to happen to Kuwait, to Saudi Arabia, to Iraq, and all our American holdings all over the world.
That was
encouraged by the response of the
delegate to the
Americans.
UN.
MI6 set up a team in Cyprus to keep in radio contact with the Rashidian brothers in Tehran.
They had a very wide range of contacts, particularly in the bazaar, and the moneyed or hopefully moneyed classes were getting worried. They saw that their prosperity was being threatened, and opinion was building up among those classes against Mossadegh, and they also had contacts with the Ayatollahs and a sort of merchant religious movement going through to the people, and a little bit of rent a crowd should have provided a strong popular demonstration against Mossadegh and in favor of the Shah.
Sir Sam Fall of the British Embassy in Tehran.
Central to the Rashidians' network were the mob leaders based in the traditional athletic clubs, where physical prowess and protection rackets went hand in hand. Here could be found men in the pay of Iran's ruling class, who could provide the rent-a-crowd the British needed. The British pinned their hopes above all on the Shah. To their dismay and that of Iran's elite, Mossadegh's reforms were reducing his powers to those of a ceremonial monarch rather than a ruler.
The Shah was exceedingly weak. He was vacillating, and he was afraid, and he just didn't know what to do. He didn't like Mossadegh. He realized that Mossadegh was threatening his position, but he was unable to screw up the courage needed to dispose of Mossadegh.
Although the Shah failed to act, the British kept trying. In March 1953, with Britain's agents fanning the flames, a hired mob called for Mossadegh's blood. Intrigues grew as the politics of the street took over, and Mossadegh's supporters rallied to his defense. His moderate allies in Parliament were now deserting him, but he was supported for the first time by the communist-backed Tudeh Party, a development the CIA played on in their propaganda.
What we did from Washington was to write some of the articles that would appear in the Persian press. And these articles would appear thanks again to the Rashidians, who had contacts, I believe, with probably 4/5 of the Iranian press. And any article that I would write, it gave you something of a sense of power, would appear almost instantly the next day in the Iranian press. And they were designed to show Mossadegh as a communist collaborator and as a fanatic, as a person who didn't understand that you could be both nationalistic and positive.
Former CIA agent Richard Cotton.
Bedridden old Mossadegh has trouble with the Majlis or Parliament. He goes to the people for a referendum to have it dissolved. But more than 100,000 citizens of Tehran, including every available member of the Communist Tudeh Party, turn out to vote yes and be marked with indelible ink, so they won't vote again. Understandably, few oppose the skinny old man who controls the army and the police, and the supervisors at the opposition voting place have nothing to supervise. Mossadegh, who is not a communist, has won with communist support. Can he now get rid of his dangerous new friend?
This is Mehdi Tarani, youth organizer of the Tudeh Party. He said our members were Democrats, anti-fascists, intellectuals, even the military and the party. None of us wanted to overthrow Mossadegh because we were patriots ourselves, nationalists. This is Fuad Rahimi, legal advisor to the National Iran Oil Company.
Communism. That was, the communist bogey which was represented to the United States and was the cause of the United States action in removing Mossadegh. I think that also was totally wrong. Mossadegh was not going towards communism.
Mossadegh had the two complexes. One was that he had a martyr complex, that if I die for my country, or if I am jailed, I jailed for my country, that's an honor. The second was that he depended so much on the people. He was a kind of the populist person that he said, people always will protect me. And as long as I have the people, nobody can have a coup d'etat against me.
Nasrallah Fatemi, Iranian delegate to the UN.
The reason that he neglected everything, and even when the coup d'etat came, he didn't do anything about it.
In August 1953, Britain and America were ready to act. The American ambassador was recalled to avoid implication. An American agent persuaded the Shah to sign this decree and arranged an army unit to deliver it to Mossadegh.
The original coup plan was based on the fact that the Shah had the ability to dismiss a government.
CIA agent Richard
And therefore, what was going to take place was that an officer in the army would take a notice to Mossadegh and inform him that he had been replaced and that General Zahedi would become prime minister.
Le 25, à minuit.
This is Shakur Bakhtiar, he ended up being assassinated by Iranian agents. He said tanks and machine guns arrived at midnight. Colonel Nasiri of the Royal Guard told Mossadegh he was dismissed. Mossadegh wrote on the decree, received, I will decide. They had no right to come with tanks demanding the Prime Minister's resignation. Mossadegh should have acted immediately and had them all shot.
Pour demander la démission d'un Premier ministre. Et encore, on n'a pas le droit de demander. Mossadegh aurait dû agir immédiatement et faire fusiller le lendemain par la loi martiale tous ceux qui ont été inclus dans cette histoire.
When news of the attempted coup was heard, Mossadegh's supporters took to the streets, venting their anger on symbols of royalty. The Shah himself fled the country, but the CIA did not give up. They looked for a way to turn the protests to their advantage.
This is Mehdi Tarani, youth organizer, Tudeh Party. He said, we all went to the Central Square in Tehran. It was one of the Tudeh Party's biggest demonstrations. It was against U.S. intervention and for Mossadegh nationalist government. They even called for a people's republic.
Die den Bevölkerung aufgerufen haben, den Mossadegh zu verteidigen und diese nationale Regierung auf der Macht zu behalten. Und die haben für eine Republik sogar sich ausgesprochen. Die haben die Parole des Volksrepublik ausgebrochen.
Well, as soon as this occurred, these two agents that I mentioned saw the opportunity and sent the people we had under our control into the streets and acted as if they were Tudeh. They were provocateurs, but we had more than just provocateurs. We had a lot of shock troops who actually acted as if they were Tudeh people throwing rocks at mosques, at priests.
With Tehran now in chaos,
That was Richard
the
Cotton,
CIA
CIA
persuaded
agent.
the royalist army officers to try again. Brandishing copies of the Shah's decree, they advanced towards Mossadegh's house. Meanwhile, the Rashidians and their friends mobilized their mobs to do battle with Mossadegh's supporters.
That mob that came into North Tehran and was decisive in the overthrow was a mercenary mob, had no ideology. And that mob was paid for by American dollars. And the amount of money that was used it has to have been very large.
There were lots of people in the streets, standing on the pavements and wondering what was happening. There was a lot of, in fact, talk and conversation and debate, etc., as well as speculation. And I saw a few lorry loads of people standing in these lorries, looking like ruffians and thugs, carrying clubs and sticks, and shouting slogans against Mossadegh and occasionally in favor of the Shah. That was what was happening in the morning. We didn't take it very seriously. We knew that there was something wrong, but we thought perhaps that things would turn the other way. But in the afternoon, it became clear that things were much more serious, and the news came that Mossadegh's home had been surrendered.
Gradually, the shooting started, and I told him, sir,
This is Mossadegh's aide, Ali Reza
He
Saheb.
said, no,
if it's going to happen, if it is going to be coup d'etat, I think it's better I stay in this room and I die in this room, and I will never live here.